Okay. Peace and shalom, family. It's your brother Divine Prospect of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, back at you with another Freestyle Friday session. What's going on, family? What's going on? I want to give a shout out to the Most High, as always, for him allowing us to be here on today. We are about to enjoy our Shabbat very soon. So I pray you all had a blessed and productive week. Hopefully things went in your favor this week. If not, that's not a bad thing. In order for us to have the best synergy and understand the greater outcome of things, we have to add the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So it is being able to incorporate all these things and being content in the midst of these things because you understand what the greater picture looks like, all right? So hopefully you're encouraged. Hopefully you've been edified, etc. And I appreciate y'all being here on this Friday with us, right? So as you see in the title, I'm going to address something on this show. I had a couple of things I had planned to discuss, some things related to the COVID-19 vaccine development. It's a whole saga that's part of a greater epic, right? And new studies are coming out in regards to more cases with pericarditis and myocarditis, and new development in regards to some information that was not readily available at the time when the vaccine was in mass production. Also some statements made from the FDA. So when I like to speak on these things, I like to use, I guess, if you want to say NCBI and other sources, whether it's from the School of Medicine or whatever, where these tests and studies are done, primary sources of it, actual double-blind studies, etc., where things are tested and or data that's retrieved from actual patient studies, etc., in order to make any points. And again, I never at any time told anybody that vaccinations should not be taken. What I'm saying is that if there are those of us who are particularly healthy and live a healthy lifestyle and we choose to not take the vaccine, we should be given that right to not take it. But at the same time, we should be able to allow the public to know that we are taking measures to ensure that we are healthy and we stay free from infection if possible. And if not, we know how to quarantine and keep ourselves from getting others sick. You know, the ones who have already got the vaccines, to refrain from keeping them sick. So I try not to speak about that, but so much because we did a lot of this conversation back during COVID time. And this channel, because of that, was demonetized, was shadow banned, and we had a lot of videos removed because YouTube said that the information that we're sharing, which is all information that can be verified, right? And when I say verified, I'm talking about by the fact checkers, etc. We're just making reference to information that's out there and sharing an alternative to people, for those who are already going to not want to take the vaccine, and giving them an option to stay healthy. So Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube does not like when we talk about these things. Twitter X is a little more lenient, but those other channels, they will flag this video and they will probably go back and take some more of our content down, which is unfortunate. But that's why we have a Patreon. I have a lot of those videos uploaded to Patreon, and a lot of other information concerning this on Patreon as well in regards to health, right? So if you're interested in that, the Patreon should always be up. I haven't had any strikes or anything in regards to Patreon, so that should always be there in the event that you want a point of reference on what our public opinion is in regards to COVID-19 vaccines, more particularly the mRNA vaccine. That's the only one we really bang on, right? So I was going to talk a little bit about that. I was going to show the recent developments by showing some peer review articles, etc. But I'm going to hold off on that today. And the reason why is because I don't want this show to be too long or longer than necessary or longer than usual. I do want to address something because I've had a lot of people in the community reach out to me in regards to a particular individual that's on YouTube that has recently been debating Hebrew Israelites, and they wanted me to jump into the fray. So I do want to address some of that on this particular show. And if we have some time afterwards, if there's any Q&As like we normally do on our Freestyle Fridays, I definitely want to tackle that. Now, because this is a Freestyle Friday, I am going to be showing clips and just doing a freestyle response to these clips. At some point, if I do have time, because this individual created a whole PowerPoint with slides in regards to the Israelites or any religion, as he says, I want to be able to do a proper rebuttal to that with my own slide deck, but that won't be happening now. Probably won't be happening anytime soon. Hopefully before the summer ends, I'll have that together. It's only because this is not really a priority of things that I already had scheduled. It was just something that came up and people reached out to me about it. Now, I made 2 attempts to go into this individual's live and to also join their live stream to have a conversation. And both times it just took too long. I guess it was a queue. And there was a bunch of people before me that he was on, and it was like getting longer and longer and longer, and it was getting late. And I'm like, why am I sitting here wasting time for this? I don't know what this is about. And I know I previously, before I joined the line, had left a comment and tagged them on their video, letting them know that I'm open for discussion if they're interested in speaking to somebody who they feel has a little bit more acuity in that area. And I would be more than happy to do it. I did not get a formal response back, even though we left contact information. So it doesn't seem that they're interested in speaking to anybody through that channel, but they just want to randomly speak to people who come onto their show on their show. And again, he's a content creator, a YouTuber. He's entitled to run the show as he sees fit, right? But what I'm going to do on today is show you a clip from one of his last shows that I've watched and give a brief commentary on it. Now, everything that I'm sharing here from his content is for fair use purposes only, and it's just here to publicly review the content that he had put out, and more so because I was referenced, and that's the only reason why I'm putting his content on this channel and commenting on it, because he referenced me directly. Now, if I was not cited and referenced directly, then I would not be doing this, and I would have no need to do this for educational purposes only. But because I was cited in his work, I have every right to use the citation from his work and the work that he's attributing to me, or the thing that he's attributing to me, and I have every right to respond to it. All right, so I'm saying that so that way this video doesn't get flagged, and I'm saying that so that way the content won't be removed, or I'm being forced by you to remove the content, right? So that's why I'm doing this, okay? Now, before we get started, I'm gonna go ahead and give a couple of shout outs, and then we're gonna get cracking. This right here is very interesting, to say the least. These are not my typical debates that I do on YouTube, or typical engagements that I do on YouTube. This type of stuff to me is like regulated for like Clubhouse. On Clubhouse, I personally interact with these type of individuals all the time on Clubhouse. And I have nothing personal against them. It's just that when they mention our community and they commit a logical fallacy called hasty generalization, then that's something that I typically address, right? I'll introduce myself briefly, nothing too much about my resume, who I am, and just say, hey, I'd like to have a dialogue with you because you mentioned so-and-so, and I happen to be part of this community, right? So I want to make sure that I'm cordial and I'm professional in how I have discourses in regards to these type of subject matters with individuals that I know little about, but seem to know everything about our community, right? So I've heard of this individual in the past on a couple of occasions. So it's not like I never knew who this person was, but I never followed them, right? So because I never followed them, I'm not a fan or anything like that. So I wouldn't know much about what they're doing recently. And it's been years since I heard of this person. But because they just had, I guess, a newfound interest in the Israelite community, he started engaging Israelites on his show. And I guess the Israelites in that community took offense to that and recommended that I have a dialogue with him. Typically, it had to be something that really fires me up to say, okay, let me go and have this conversation. But something like this, it's not really my cup of tea. It's not really something I like to do on this channel, but I think this is interesting to provide apologetic towards individuals like this who do critique our community, and some of the critiques that he made was actually pretty decent and spot on, but a lot of it was just emotive. And I don't like to really respond to things that are as heavy in postmodernist perspectives, right? Like an individual that goes beyond just the technical nature of said subject matter and then really deals with it on an emotional level, right? Or on a moral level, right? So those type of things are really reserved for Clubhouse. So I'm gonna get into this, but before I do, let me give a couple of shout outs. And if y'all want, go ahead and share the video, hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the content, subscribe if you're brand new. Make sure this video gets out to everybody, because I'm really going to address it, and I'm going to do so in a respectful way. I'm not going to use a lot of the charged language that he used in his video, because it's bad enough that there's other people that think like him that expect us to respond in a very emotional fashion. I'm going to keep it professional. I'm going to keep the ad hominems out, and I'm just going to refer to this individual based on the things that they say, right? Not because I know them personally, as far as their character or whatever, but based on what they say is what I'm going to address, right? Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Okay, so let me go ahead and address who we got in here with us now. Shout out to Keenan Clayton Jr., Shalom, Panther De Noir, Shalom, Will, Shalom, Ice You Cold, Shalom, Peace Be Still, Shalom, Tommy Izzy, Shalom, Kid Run, Shalom, King Ya, Shalom, Nilante, Shalom, Get Wise, Shalom, Jay, Shalom, David Cotton, Shalom, Tiffany Smith, Shalom. You see, I still think I had your information during COVID-19. My family was informed and elected to not take the vaccine. A friend is now dealing with an aggressive breast cancer mRNA link. And, you know, pretty much what we provided, just to comment on this real quick, pretty much what we provided was tons of information. So examining everything that was coming across via the media, things that were coming across in medical journals, science journals, etc., about COVID-19, we brought out on this channel. Not only that, a lot of people were about to get terminated and let go from their jobs for refusal to take the vaccine. So we just provided an alternative, right? We never told anybody, don't take the vaccine. But if you're going to elect not to take the vaccine and you want to go an alternative route, you should be allowed to do so, and not at the expense of losing your job. So we produce over 200 plus letters. And out of those 200 letters, about 11 or 12 of them, we were unfortunately unable to help those individuals for a variety of reasons. But we're talking about 190, 90, 188, 189, something like that, jobs that we were able to help the community maintain during this perilous time, right? So that's 189 approximately people who would have lost their jobs if there wasn't an option from them to receive a religious exemption letter from a religious entity, or what's considered a religious entity, right? So we was able to provide that, and 189 jobs were saved. So all praise to the Most High for using us as a vessel to provide for the community in that way. So I'm grateful that we was able to help in that fashion. Not only that, I also did a lecture on COVID-19 and identified what it was, how you know that you have it, the stages you go through, and alternatives that you can take, right, in order to help yourself to stay healthy during that period of time. So we also educated on the actual disease. We also educated on the actual virus itself, you know, and we went straight from there to solutions that you can implement for yourself. And I put that on YouTube for free. Still on YouTube. You can still check it out, right? And it's there. You know what I'm saying? So when we see these things, these swords coming upon the community, as watchmen, we try to respond, right? But in the process of doing so, our video got flagged, right? Our videos got taken down. We were demonetized and everything. So we risked losing the channel simply to put out information to benefit the people. And nothing that we said in any statement that we make was do not take the vaccine. We never said nothing like that. And because I'm even speaking on this, puts this particular video at risk of being taken down, and our channel being examined again, and more content being removed. But the truth got to come out either way, right? So I appreciate the community for supporting this ministry, because despite what happens, this part of my life is not shut down because of lack to YouTube. We on other social media channels, and we have other social media handles that we operate on. So if anything ever happens to YouTube, that's not going to remove our public interface with the community, right? So just wanted to share that. And if anything, if this gets taken down, then we'll just do Freestyle Friday and other content. We'll just put it on Instagram. We'll just put it on Twitter, X. We'll just put it on Facebook, and we'll just stream it on TikTok. So there's other places that we can send this, or we can go to Rumble or somewhere else. But either way, if anything ever happens to us here, make sure you subscribe to our social media handles. You'll see them all in the description. This way you can stay on top of things. And if anything ever happens to this channel, if you want content like this, it'll always be on the Patreon, www.patreon.com/divine prospect. We actually added some new content there as well. So you want to go ahead and check that out this past week. All right. So let me see what else we got. Shout out to Gavin Miller, Aaron Jeshuan, Shalom, Sincerely Cherie, Queen in the building, Shalom, Yaakov, Shalom, 916 Shan. What's going on, Sister Shanti? Shalom, the Black Karib, Shalom King, Ira Emin, Shalom. Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate that. And okay, if I see your names come up, I'll definitely give you a shout out. So feel free to say something in the chat, and I will definitely shout you out. Also, if the audio and video is crisp, clear, and it's auditory, hit 1. If there seems to be issues with the audio video, hit 2. So just let me know before I get started. Let me see. And for those of you asking me about prayer, because I always get the questions about prayer. I actually did a post on Patreon going into detail about that. So I'll go ahead and share that link here if anybody's interested in checking that out. I'm doing a series on Patreon called How Do We Pray? And all of that will be rolled up in an actual lecture. Now, some of this information I already shared on YouTube before, because I've talked on this subject for a lengthy period of time. But here I go into the actual model that's employed when it comes to these type of formulaic prayers that you also can embody and also carry out yourself, right? So I'll go ahead and I'll share that in the chat if anybody's interested in checking that out in detail. And let me share it here. All right, so the audio and the video is fine. That's good. Let me make sure I have everything we're supposed to be. Yes and yes. Okay. So everything's good. All right. Shout out to I think I said Aaron, Jeshuan already, and Jay. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, you click there, check out the Patreon, and see what we say about prayer. I also recently did a parsing of Matthew chapter 1 and verse 16 from the old Syriac Sinaiticus Palimpsest that you'll want to check out. So I have that there as well. So go ahead and check that out. All right. Okay. So shout outs out the way. Oh, let me see. Oh, shout out to my brother in the building, the Most High Child, Shay Yarala, Shalom. About this other madness, he's clearly trying to bait our community. I don't find him deep at all. However, I digress. So we're about to get into it. We got the Navi in the building, the Prophet Jordan's Cadet, Shalom. Many praises to the great. Yo, Jordan is crazy, man. That's a good brother right there. My brother Kiri Bell in the building. Shalom, my brother. What's going on? Okay. Now, before I get into this, this is why I pushed apologetics in our community from day one. I push apologetics. I push systematic theology from the perspective of one who identifies as an Israelite. I push scholarship and academia as tools, right, to help equip us when these type of things happen. And also just having good character, right? Striving for Yah to work through you so that the flesh of you is rarely seen and his spirit in you is on display, right? Because we carry his reputation, his fame, and his character everywhere we go. And we have to conform ourselves to the image that he wants us to be, right? So that takes a lot of pouring out of ourselves and the filling in of Yah. And in the process of that, for us to do good works, right? Which is an outward expression of inward transformation. And what this does is that it spills out in our lives, right? We take principles from our culture or our cultural paradigm and we infuse it to things that we do day to day so we can achieve excellence in the areas of life that we operate, right? Because life is multifaceted. For us, this is our core foundation, but then we have other elements of life where principles from the core foundation helps to motivate and direct us along various paths that we engage in life, right? So I never told anybody like you go out there and beat people over the head of your identity and your culture, who you are. No, it should just emanate from you. It should ooze from out of your pores, right? The essence that you embody should reflect what those cultural principles are, right? So you shouldn't have to always say it. If you're living it, people will see. And whatever it is that you touch, whatever it is that you do, that is something different about them, right? That you stand out, right? And that you bring value and you contribute wisdom to any situation that's at hand, right? So I just want to make sure that that's understand. All right. Shout out to Moray Benjamin in the building. Shalom, Elder. What's going on? I call him Elder, but that's a Moray right there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Joseph Donald. I've been seeing you in a long time, Elder. How are you doing? I pray all is well. All right. Yeah, y'all just coming out the woodworks for this. I guess y'all was waiting for this show. I don't know. This seems to be a hot topic now in the community, so that's why I wanted to address it. So I say that in regards to character because in understanding, right? If you're in this walk, why are you in this walk, right? I've done numerous workshops on this. I've done a session that was awoken. Now what, right? What are the next steps? How we should reflect our cultural paradigm that we're learning, how it should reflect in the communities that we engage in. We have our chapter launches because we pull from out of this cultural paradigm and we employ it by means of works, services, programs, etc., that benefit the community, right? That alleviate the societal ills that we discover in our communities. We read in scripture in Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah chapter 29, where it says to us to promote the peace of the city and to interpose on Yah's behalf, for in this peace you shall have peace. We say that all the time. We also use that chapter to denote and convey autonomy, because that's the solution for our people is autonomy. And the Bible showcases autonomy via the refuge cities, via Goshen, via several other things that's depicted from the text. And these are things that we personally, when we go into society and we see these issues, these are things from our cultural paradigm that can resolve these problems. And also we can work with other organizations that's also fostering the better good for the community as well, and work with them, right? So the testimony should be what we do, not what we say. We don't go on the street and evangelize. Here, there's other Israelites that line the streets and that's what they do. But here, we win the people over through our good works, right? And through the good works, they would know who it is that we follow, right? And what we stand on, right? But you don't have to every day say, I'm an Israelite to everybody. I follow Yah, keep the statutes, laws, and commandments. That's not a functional way to integrate into society. So you have to be as wise as serpents, as harmless as doves, and you have to work circumspectly, right? Make sure you're walking circumspectly. And if you do so, then wisdom will tell you what to say when it's time to say, right? Let me see. Should we pray people into the hands of the devil, like Philip Anthony Mitchell says? Is the devil a boogeyman? Wait, what? Hey, JB3, I'm gonna hold off on a Q&A until after I do this little commentary on this video. But should we pray people into the hands of the devil? I have no answer to that. But you know what you can do, JB3? If he left scripture in regards to that, put it in the chat and I'll address it, right? But when it comes to prayer, if you're saying pray people into the hands of the devil, I haven't seen nothing like that in scripture. I haven't seen that. So if the formula is not there, then they're just making up something that's not going to produce the recipe for the proper ingredients that is given to you by way of biblical prescription, right? So this is very interesting. Moray Benjamin. Now I've addressed that before, and I've addressed that in Clubhouse. So you was there, Moray Benjamin. I think you was there in that Clubhouse session I had where what's the brother's name? Joey. And I had to walk him through Zechariah chapter 12 and 10 because he tried to use that to say the Most High was being pierced. And I walked him through the language. He was like, oh, don't say that. I said, nah, I don't say that, bro. You know what I'm saying? So let's hold off on that. Let's hold off on that for now. Q&A. Let me get into this video. Again, I'm going to try to be a gentleman doing it. I'm going to refrain from any colorful language for any ad hominems, right? And you'll see this individual has said a lot. And I'm also going to warn you, viewer discretion is advised. He is going to curse. So if you got children watching this, because we typically have a lot of children watch our show, just be aware that he's going to curse, okay? So I just want to make sure that I warn you in advance, all right? Again, make sure you share this video. Thumbs up if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you're brand new, because we got tons of content like this and greater on this channel. And also subscribe to the Patreon, www.patreon.com/divine prospect. And you have a troll-free environment in order to learn, grow, and get a wealth of resources that we have in our repository to build up your walk with Yah and your engagement with society. Tons of content, books, articles, videos, courses, etc. on the Patreon. All right, and thank you for the donation, JB3. I appreciate that, my brother. But yeah, when we get to the Q&A, we have time. I'll get back to it. But if Philip Anthony Mitchell, and I'm going to have to get on his grass too at some point, because y'all always ask me about the stuff he teaches, right? And I know some Israelites have already addressed him, but I'll get on the grass. Matter of fact, I'll go visit his church. If you want me to go visit his church, y'all let me know. I'll go to the Bible study, and I'll ask some questions. Let me know if y'all want me to hit one. If you want me to go to the church and to the Bible study and ask some questions, y'all let me know. Let me know if you want me to go to Philip Anthony Mitchell. This is the 2819 church, and I think it's out here in Atlanta. Let me know. Let me take a look real quick. Let's take a look real quick. Let me see what's that. Oh, it is in Atlanta. Oh, it's on Greenbrier Parkway. Hold on, let me take a look. Let's see how far that is from me. I know that area. Let me see. Oh, that's right down the street from me. Hey, yo, somebody put in the chat when they have their Bible study, and it will pull up. I'll probably get some ATL Israelites to run with me, and we go pull up. All right. We go pull up. He said, what? Yo. Hey, yo. Chill, man. Nah, I think it's in Fulton County, yo, Cove. It's in Fulton County. Yo, stop playing, y'all. Now you're playing games. You're talking about Jesus had a tattoo. What? I hope he didn't say that. I hope you've been mistaken on that, my brother. All right. All right, cool. I'm in Fulton as well, yo, Cove. Yeah, come through, man. I'll post it. Y'all can always hit us up on kingdomharbinger@gmail.com or send us a text and the number going across the screen, and y'all can come with us. We'll get some KHM Atlanta chapter peoples, and if there's other Israelites in the city, come through, man. Come through. All right. Appreciate that, More Benjamin. All right. So we're about to get started on this, man. We're about to get started. It's a reference to 1 Corinthians 5:5. 1 Corinthians 5:5 has nothing to do with praying somebody into the hands of the devil. It has everything to do with Paul addressing adultery that is occurring at the ecclesia in Corinth, because the body that was there was witnessing a young man who took his father's wife and laid with her and did not say nothing about it, but let him chill in their congregation. So Paul was saying for them to kick him out of the community and let the devil have his way with him so his soul peradventure could be saved. Has nothing to do with praying somebody into the hands of the devil. That's wild work. Wild work. But it's these type of misinformation that will make you think that it's okay to pray to Yah to put somebody into the hands of the devil. Now, there's prayers you can pray if you have enemies, so Yah can, wreak vengeance against your enemies or the enemies of our nation or even his enemies. Yes, we see biblical justification for that. We see biblical prescription from that, especially from the psalmist, right? Or Tehillim, right? We see that, right? Tehillim. So in regards to what's said in Corinth, that is not what it's talking about. So we're gonna fall back, right? Okay, America Now News. Ron, currently we do not offer a midweek worship gathering. America Now News, I've never seen you here before. Maybe you're part of 2819 Church. I was told that a couple of members were following me. I don't know who they are, but a couple of members of that church was following my content. I don't know who they are. I'm assuming that you're part of 2819 Church because you just popped out of nowhere with that. Are you saying that? And I'm not looking for a midweek worship gathering. Or you're not? Okay, cool, no problem. So American Now News, what are you referring to when you said we do not offer? Are you speaking as a representative from 2819 Church, which I don't think you are because you just said you're not? Or are you referring to something else? If so, let me know. Right? If so, let me know. But I want to see when they have Bible study or even Sunday service, and I'll pull up. And I'll bring a bunch of brews with me. We're going to be on our best behavior. Trust me. They ain't even going to know we Israelites, right? We're not going to be rowdy, rambunctious, boisterous, or none of that. We're going to sit there in proper church protocol and wait till there's an opportunity to ask questions. All right? Oh, okay. I got it, American Now News. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So you're taking that from the website. Thank you, American Now News. I appreciate it. I thought you were one of the members of the church because they do frequent here pretty often, right? And I've been told by individuals that, oh, this person, this part of that church, they watch your channel. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let them know that we want to pull up to ask questions, and we're going to be as amicable and professional as possible. All right. All praise to the Most High. All right, so let's get to this video. Now, I'm gonna tell you the reason why. Oh, More Matayahu. All right, shalom, More Matayahu. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. Yeah. Shout out to Avery. Yeah, he has been. Sean 105. Don't do that, Devon. He don't want the smoke. Nah, we're gonna be cool. It's not gonna be real smoke, right? It's just gonna be, little vapor. Hey, the vape pens. It's gonna be a little vape. Yeah, it's not really heavy smoke. Not the cancerous type smoke. Just a little vape. You know what I'm saying? Oh, on the thigh that said King of Kings. Jesus. Yo, but wasn't Jesus wearing something? So if it's on his garment, it's written on the garment, not on his skin. Who said that he had that on his skin? Are you telling me that when Jesus was coming back on that white horse in Revelation chapter 19, he was butt naked? Well, all eyes are going to see that. Is that what you're telling me? Or the text says he actually is going to have a vestry. He's going to have a garment on when he returns. So if he says something wild like that, I can only imagine the other madness is coming out of his mouth. I can only imagine. And again, I've seen several of his sermons before. So it's not like I'm oblivious to what he teaches or how he teaches. I've seen that before. But this ain't the smoke for Philip Anthony Mitchell. He going to get that at another time. We're going to fall back on it. We're going to fall back. Let's deal with this Marquez. I'm going to show you a clip as to why I'm now involved officially. Because before it was unofficial. I was just spying a little bit, going on my merry way. Listen, he wasn't even on my mind. People told me about it. Divine respond. I said, okay, all right. I'll see what's going on. But once he he blatantly disrespected me. Now I'm like, okay, now I got to speak on this. All right. So again, viewer discretion is advised. These clips have explicit language, and there's explicatives that's mentioned in this. So let me play the first clip. All right, this is why I'm involved now.
Look at this idiot. This dude. It's like, bro, have some respect. You're an idiot. This dude. Don't try to say this dude to disrespect me, you idiot. My name, you're on my channel. You know what my name is. Animal. This dude, and then he puts dude in capital D. Idiot. I tell you, these people are all low IQ. This dude's level of understanding of the Hebrew Israelites is laughable. There's nothing to understand. They're just broke black men. You never seen a broke black man before? They're all over the place. Go to Detroit, go to Chicago, go to Baltimore, go to Atlanta. They're all over the place. They're just broke black men with a new hustle, a Ponzi scheme. That's all it is. He writes laughable, and then he I'm
going to pause right there. So he called the person that left the comment a name. He says all Hebrew Israelites are broke black men. The last time I checked, I'm not a broke black man. Maybe I could be. Depends on how you define broke. Who knows? I know I'm well off in the years that I've spent in the IT industry. I've made a career out of that. And I've made a substantial amount of money work. And continue to praise Yah, and I have several other contracts that are upcoming. So I wouldn't consider myself a broke black man, but this is what we call hasty generalization, right? So let's take a look at this, okay? The hasty generalization is a logical fallacy. And I want you to see this. And this is because of his limited exposure to certain individuals in the community, right? Let me show you this, okay? So you can see what hasty generalization is, okay? And again, this is nasty work. And there's so many brothers that I know on this walk that got bread. There's millionaires that's in this walk. I'm not a millionaire myself, right? But in the realm that I work in IT, this is not including some of the personal funds that I make, like off of Patreon, stuff like that. The other stuff from the ministry goes to ministry stuff. But that's not including that I've made a substantial amount of money in my lifetime outside this community, right? So it's very unfortunate to hear somebody say something like that when I know a lot of brothers that make bread. Like, I met millionaires, I know celebrities that's in this walk, right? And I'm not going to say who they are. All I would say is read between the lines. That's all I'm going to say. But I know it's a good amount of celebrities in this walk who are not out there doing what we do. So you would never know they're in this walk, right? But the issue is for you to say that the moment that we show you brothers that are not broke, like, technically I'm not broke, right? Technically I make enough money. If YouTube, Patreon, everything else was to disappear today, that would not affect my pocket at all. This is compartmentalized to something completely different, doing Yah's will. This has nothing to do with my day-to-day in regards to finances. I don't sit here and beg nobody to give me money to pay my bills. That's how it works. So the fact that we labor and keep this channel for the benefit of the community, people are giving money in exchange for that. And as you see, we create services and programs. We talked earlier about COVID. We saved 189 people's jobs from the donation that was coming in, that we was able to take the time out and create this service to provide the community. So everything we produce is tangible. So for him to say that we're just broke black men, that is, not only is that an ad hominem, but that is what we call hasty generalization. So let me go ahead and share on screen what that is, right? Okay. Hasty generalization. Example, my friend has been eating only hamburgers, pizza, and fries for 10 years, and he has no health issues. Therefore, fast food is not unhealthy for you. Now, we know that that's a lie. Definition: the logical fallacy occurs when someone draws a conclusion based on just a small sample size. In other words, the conclusion is supported by insufficient evidence. The brother has not encountered enough people in this community to say something disrespectful like that. And even if brothers were broke, that's not a problem. If they're broke, and let's say I knew about it, my job is to link up with them and show them how to get money, because that brokenness will lead to a dis-ease in the community, a dis-ease, a discomfort, not having peace within your home, within your community, etc. So those brothers and sisters need to be encouraged. We need to pull them aside and we need to pour into them, because when we read Acts chapter 4, the reason why those early subscribers to Hamashiach were able to be successful is because they utilized the resources from within the community so that everyone's need was met. So dismissing people off as being broke black men, by saying black, there's other people in this community that won't be considered black. You know, a lot of the Israelites we also identify Native American and Hispanic brothers and sisters as well. They're not black. But everybody's journey in life in regards to finances is different. I cannot judge somebody because they're currently broke, right? I just want to ask the brother, hey, what are you currently doing? Because if you have a family and you have responsibilities that you got to take care of, then I need to know, brother, why are you broke, right? Do you need help? Is there a problem? Is this a recurring issue? Or are you just down at the moment? But he's saying that being broke and impoverished is a gateway into this community. Now, for some brothers and sisters, it is. I ain't gonna lie. But that does not speak to the majority of us in this community. Majority of us are hardworking individuals that pay his bills. When you see the services that he offers, it's hardworking individuals, not just millionaires. Hardworking individuals that's paying his bills, that's contributing to things that he's doing. Right? Hardworking individuals. And just because somebody's in poverty doesn't mean they're not even working. A lot of times, because of the society that we currently live in, inflation, tariffs, and a whole bunch of other things, the cost of living is going up. Inflation is on the rise. So this is affecting us as a community, as a people. So just simply dismissing people as being broke black men is retarded. He's not retarded. I'm not saying Marquett is retarded. I'm saying that statement is nonsensical, asinine, and retarded. You just don't speak on something you have insufficient information about. That's it. And again, this is a person in the chat that left a comment, right? So instead of him addressing the comment respectfully, he said, look at this idiot. Again, using colorful language. Look at this idiot. And then he says they're just broke black men. Let's see the rest of that. Let's finish going on.
Look at this idiot. This dude. It's like, bro, have some respect. You're an idiot. This dude. Don't try to say this dude to disrespect me, you idiot. My name, you're on my channel. You know what my name is. Animal. This dude, and then he puts dude in capital D. Idiot. I tell you, these people are all low IQ. This dude's level of understanding of the Hebrew Israelites is laughable. There's nothing to understand. They're just broke black men. You never seen a broke black man before? They're all over the place. Go to Detroit, go to Chicago, go to Baltimore, go to Atlanta. They're all over the place. They're just broke black men with a new hustle, a Ponzi scheme. That's all it is. He writes laughable, and then he misspells a word. He writes divine prospect. You listen to a nigga named Divine Prospect, bro, I've heard it all. You listen to a nigga named Divine Prospect, I've heard it all. AKA Ron Shields will embarrass you. Embarrass me? How? How could he embarrass me? My car costs more than his house. Well, he can't embarrass me. It's impossible. But embarrass me? He doesn't have any accomplishments. He's nothing. It's impossible. What are you talking about? Be real with yourself. Inside and outside of the Bible. Word? No, I don't think so. But how about this? How about this? You embarrass me. I'll give you the link. You come embarrass me. I'll give you the link. You come embarrass me right now. Come embarrass me. And this is the stupidity. His name is Paul Shalaham. Paul Shalaham. Come on, bro. Knock it off. Be yourself, nigga. Your name is Tyreek Jones, bro. Your name is Tyreek Jones. Knock it off with this shalaham bullshit. Come on, man. Be yourself. Be yourself, Brody. Stop it with the nonsense.
All right. Okay. So he says we're running a hustle, a Ponzi scheme. Let's take a look at what a Ponzi scheme is. Okay. Again, this is off the cuff right now. But when we do our my response, my refutation, not even a rebuttal to the things that he says in his PowerPoint, I'm going more in depth into that, right? But let's go into this, right? We're going to go to investor.gov and we're going to take a look to see at what a Ponzi scheme is, right? And I want y'all to tell me, let me know if I'm running a Ponzi scheme. And if I am, then I'll just back out. I don't need to be here, right? But let's take a look at what a Ponzi scheme is, okay? Let's take a look at this. All right. A Ponzi scheme, right? A Ponzi scheme is an investment fraud that pays existing investors with funds collected from new investors, okay? So I go out on the street, I act like I have a product or a service, right? I encourage people in the first wave that, hey, I got this new product coming out, this new service, but you know, we need investors and we get investors and this is the timeline. And I get some random pitch deck, right? I show them or whatever to convince them that we need investors, right? And if you pay us X amount of money, this will go towards this product, this service, or whatever it is towards the community. And if you give us that money, then in X amount of time, we'll pay you back. right? You'll get a ROI, a return on your investment, right? So I give that to the first wave. And then what I do is I go to the second wave, I run the same game, and I take a percentage of money that I collected, because I already spent probably that first wave of investors' money. But the second wave, I take a portion out of that money and I pay back the first wave to say, look, you got a return on your investment, right? So let's keep this thing going. But let's keep reading, right? Funds collected from new investors. Ponzi scheme organizers often promise to invest your money and generate high returns with little to no risk, which already is a red flag. But in many Ponzi schemes, the fraudsters do not invest the money. Instead, they use it to pay those who invested earlier and keep some for themselves. With little or no legitimate earnings, Ponzi schemes require a constant flow of new money to survive. When it becomes hard to recruit new investors, or when large numbers of existing investors cash out, these schemes tend to collapse. Ponzi schemes are named after Charles Ponzi, who duped investors in the 1920s with a postage stamp speculation scheme. Now, apparently, we're running a Ponzi scheme here, right? This is what he says. If we're running a Ponzi scheme here, there should be an investigation on what we're doing here. When we ask to show the books, we will show the books. There is no Ponzi scheme here. We are collecting donations for every service, every program, every product and good that we've ever put out. We're giving information, education. We're providing these things to the community, tangible items to the community. When we have our events, our chapter launches, these are free. We get food and everything else out when we're here. We create a safe networking space for those of us on the same accord. We go and teach people how to set up autonomous communities. That's a service that we show for. There's something tangible that we can show behind every donation that we've collected. There's no Ponzi scheme here. Now, if there's other Israelites in the community running a Ponzi scheme, I have no knowledge of that, right? Y'all would know better than me. Share that information with me, because I don't know about it. And if it's true, then I need to stop working and interfacing with said individuals running a Ponzi scheme in the community. Ponzi scheme red flags. I'm going to go into this real quick. Many Ponzi schemes share common characteristics. Look for these warning signs. High returns with little or no risk. Every investment carries some degree of risk, and investments yielding higher returns typically involve more risk. Be highly suspicious of any guaranteed investment opportunity. I don't guarantee anything over here. I never say, well, if you invest with us, depending on what we say what the investment is, like, for example, if we're trying to start a service in the community and we ask you to pay in so this service can be live, and we give you a timeline, we give you a deadline, and we show you what to look for, then we produce said service. And we have done that for all the services that we promise within a period of time. We offer them. KHM offers over 12 different services. A lot of them is unused. And most of the ones that you'll know about, like Naturopath to Even and Jubilee Manumission, these exist. And the monies that's paid to the ministry, when we encounter people that cannot afford these programs, well, services after the program element is over, we use those funds to pay for that. So people who otherwise cannot get access to these services from the secular realm can get it from us. So where is this Ponzi scheme that we're running? If I was running a Ponzi scheme, I'll be a multi-millionaire right now. There's no Ponzi scheme being ran here. Overly consistent returns. Investments tend to go up and down over time. That's normal. Anybody who's invested knows that. Be skeptical about an investment that regularly generates positive returns regardless of overall market conditions. So if you have a product, a good, whatever, that you are offering these first wave investors, and you said there's no risk and there's a high yield in a market where that's not the case, the market's not that consistent, you expect to get losses. There's no way you can have a exorbitantly high yield and little to no risk. If anybody offers you something like that, they're lying to you. They're lying. That's not what we do over here. So understand, you cannot consistently always have positive returns in a market that goes up and down. You're going to get a loss at some point. right? That's called a risk. We don't use that language over here. Unregistered investments. Ponzi schemes typically involve investments that are not registered with the SEC or state regulators. We don't have any investments. When we use the word invest, we're not saying it as a financial, in financial terms. We're speaking about investment in regards to donations that go towards the things that we provide the community. We don't need to be registered on the SEC because we're not running an investment firm here. This is not what this is. Registration is important because it provides investors with access to information about the company's management, products, services, and finances. If anybody requests that for any monies that they have donated or any products and services they have purchased for us, we are willing to show them, and we have done this. So we're not running a Ponzi scheme. Unlicensed sellers. Federal and state securities laws require investment professionals and firms to be licensed or registered. Well, we don't have a firm. Secretive, complex strategies. Avoid investments if you don't understand them or can't get complete information about them. Everything we do here is open up to the public. When people join KHM, we did a whole orientation explaining to you what we're about. When we do our chapter launches, we transparently tell you everything that we're about. We lay it out there. I told you, one of the best ways to combat infiltration is through transparency. Because an infiltrator thinks they're coming to get secret information other than what's already been put out, because they believe that secret information is being hidden and it's dealing with some illicit or illegal activities. But when you make it all transparent and just code the language of communication so you can spot an infiltrator, then there's nothing for them to investigate. There's no secretive element there for them to investigate. You understand? So for him to use this language, Ponzi scheme, brother, using it out of context. It's a Ponzi scheme. I don't know about any of those in the community. We don't run one here at KHM. But let's keep going, right? And then he refers to me as a nigga. This is what he says. He says, you listen to a nigga named Divine Prospect. That's all I need to know. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? The last time I checked, there's actors and actresses with stage names and aliases. There's authors that have pen names and aliases. There's poets that have pen names and aliases. There are writers that have pen names and aliases, like I said, authors, writers. There are social media personalities that have stage names and aliases. Are we going to say that they're all niggers, and because they use an alias, that tells you all you need to know about them? Well, if that's the case, then how come they're millionaires? There's even some billionaires that go by aliases. But what does that mean? I don't understand. Again, I said nothing about this guy. I'm not calling him any names. I'm just critiquing the things he's saying already about me. I'm just addressing that. So what does that tell you? First of all, you know nothing about the said individual by saying that's all I need to know. That means you're judging a book by its cover. That's exactly what you're doing. That's the one thing you don't want people to do about you, but you're doing that about other people simply because of hasty generalization. So when you start off with a faulty foundation and you are spewing logical fallacies, then everything else that you're saying is going to cascade from there and showcase the weakness in your argumentation. Because again, it reverts back to hasty generalization. You have not been engrossed in the community to know the individuals in the community. You're only dealing with the ones that are running to your channel because they want to challenge you. Those are not the authentic ones. I don't run to somebody's channel just to challenge them just because I want clout, I want fame. That's not what this ministry is based off of. This organization is based off of other principles. So the reason why I'm even on his channel is because people have brought it to my attention. You never heard me mention him on his channel before, ever. And we don't call out people like that unless people bring it to our attention. That's not what we do. Or unless somebody personally attacks me, my information, my organization, me or whatever, and it's public and they make it public. If it's private, then I don't make it public. But if they made it public, then I'm going to speak on it. But I don't even know this person. He don't know me. So for him to say something like that, I'm just like, That's interesting. I said, okay, well, whatever. He said that his car costs more than my house. Well, he would have to get both items appraised in order to make that determination. He's deducing that I'm impoverished and I'm poverty stricken and I'm a broke black man. So that's his assumption, which making him a you know what. But that's his assumption that his car costs more than my house. Well, how do you know? Have you seen my house? Have you been to my house? Have you appraised my house? There's people in this walk who've been to my house. I don't have a small house. So my house has property as well. So I don't have a small house. Where I live is not a small house, right? So the property that I live at, there's an appraisal amount for it. And I don't know. From the amount that I've seen, from what this is appraised for, I highly doubt his car costs more than that. I highly doubt it. It could. I don't know, because I don't know which of his cars that he's talking about. Maybe cars that he's leasing, or maybe cars that he is borrowing, or maybe cars that, I don't know, he's getting off of a black market somewhere for cheap. I don't know anything about him or his lifestyle or the items that he possesses. But the key thing is, what does that have to do with anything? Is that how you value yourself, based on the possessions that you have? Real people that have possessions that are valuable and cost money don't need to brag about it, because people can see it when they see that person. But we don't value that over here. So if you have cars that cost $500,000, maybe $750,000, if you have cars that are worth that much, then you should not have a YouTube channel. Why do you have a YouTube channel? And if you have a YouTube channel, why is your YouTube channel monetized? If you get money like that, you don't need that money. Why are you telling people to come on your channel to pay to speak to you? Why are you accepting donations? Why are you selling a book? Why are you doing these things? If you have a car that's worth $750,000, that is more than my house. Like, why? Why are you doing these things? And then at the end of the day, what does that have to do with anything? And I think that's because he measures a man's worth if they're a millionaire or not. It comes down to that. You measure a man's worth if he's a millionaire or not. See, in our community, that is not how we measure worth. That's not how we quantify worth and value. You are valuable based on the character that you display. You're valuable based on the contributions you make to your community and your society. You are valuable by pouring into others who otherwise would not know the things that you know to better their lives. You are valuable based on how you show love to your brother and sister. You're valuable based on all of these things. I had a wonderful grandmother on my mom's side. She was not no millionaire, but she taught me a lot about life. You know the things that she taught me that money can't buy? Perseverance, endurance, selflessness, patience. She showed me all of these things. My grandmother worked several jobs. She's from the Caribbean, worked several jobs. And when somebody said they needed it, she gave it to them. No questions asked. She gave my mother and my uncle's bed to strangers. She gave furniture to strangers. She gave whole paychecks to strangers. And some of those strangers today, keeping up with them, are successful now because of her helping them out during that trying time. That's what's valuable to me. So to say that you measure a man's worth based on how much money he has, his net worth, to me is ridiculously asinine. And there are just some principal character traits that money cannot buy. I know several people that are millionaires. The people I know who have money, multimillionaires, I never asked them for $1. Why? We're not connected because I need something from you. I don't have a transactional relationship with them. I have a relational relationship with them, not transactional. So I don't ask them for money. I don't try to get freebies off of them. So That's just on principle. So those individuals, a lot of them who are multimillionaires, they got a lot of issues. They got a lot of problems. And like Biggie said, more money, more problems. So I prefer to only have the bread that's sufficient for me. I don't want to have too much that I can't maintain it, and it brings me a wealth of problems that I didn't have prior. I want to make sure that I have just enough to sustain me and my household and my endeavors. I don't need any more. Now, maybe you do, but everybody doesn't. Anything in excess that I get becomes some food, figuratively, to put in my brother's belly, because there's other people out there who are not sufficient in what they receive. So my objective is any surplus goes into their stomach. Okay. All right. All right. Let's just keep going. So that's what the brother said about me, right? He says, I have no accomplishments. That's what he said. I have no accomplishments. I'm not even going to speak on that. Yes, some things go without being said. He says, I have no accomplishments. All you got to do is type up my name in YouTube, on Google, type Divine Prospect Accomplishments. I put my name in the LLM, large language model, the other day, because I work with several of those, LM Studio, etc. And I was looking up, just looking up my name, my government name, my alias, just to see what they say about me, my accomplishments, things I've approved. And several things came up. So it looks like AI is picking up on, a variety of different people that's not public facing like that. So to say I have no accomplishments, you would have to know me to say that. His mind, an accomplishment is, do you got a Bugatti? That's an accomplishment to him. But that is a very relative term. It's a very relative term. And it begs the question, like, is that how you see value when it comes to people? Okay. So when I saw that portion of the video, I said, okay, I got to respond. So let's go ahead and play the rest of this foolishness. Okay, let's go ahead and play the rest of this. And play the rest of this. And I'm just going to let you see for yourself. You can get a glimpse of what's going on here.
You feel that? That's my playerism. I'm on the scene, a player queen, poker face, 4 queens. I got 4 of a kind on everything. Living elite, I with the relief, out kicking at my feet in a Rolls Royce every week. Maybe this is deep. Listen close when I speak. At least I'm too Copy a fold if I love you.
Now, as you can see, he has what I call the polite syndrome. Okay? The polite syndrome. Now, again, I don't know him personally. So I've researched some stuff that he's done and that he's known for and stuff that he said about himself, but I don't know him personally. I never hung out with this brother to know anything about how he's getting what he's getting to sustain this lifestyle. But he is promoting a lifestyle. And if you do not measure or you do not equate to the lifestyle that he is presenting publicly, again, this is the internet, right? That he's presenting publicly, then you have no value. If that's the case, then why do you want to talk to our community if you're saying we're broke black men? That makes no sense. Why are you even entertaining these conversations? Why are you doing that? But he has the polite syndrome. Now, polite reportedly had a net worth of $2 million, right? Well, we will never know because we never see no IRS records of that, right? He's in prison right now. So I'm not going to speak about him. He's already in prison. He got his conviction. That's a separate situation. But when I say the polite syndrome, we've seen plenty of people come into this community, whether they're Israelites. We had Comfy from the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, who embezzled $5+ million out of his congregation, right? We've seen that. We've seen Brother Polite, right? Where people were saying, Brother Polite scamming me and this, and that. Did we see other people in the conscious community that was scamming people, running Ponzi schemes, the real Ponzi schemes you should be worried about. But you can see here, he's portraying a lifestyle, right? It looks like polite. See, same videos as a polite was putting out. Look, how to master money and women. And this is where our values, our morals, and our ethics are at an impasse. You make money by teaching men how to master money and women. What do you mean master women? And his mindset is definitely Keenan. His mindset is, oh, well, what was it? I'm trying to figure out exactly what he said before. I can't remember at the moment. Oh, he was talking to this other brother that was on here who seemed to be ex-NOI, and the brother brought up what's her name? Candace Owens. He was like, oh yeah, I know you a feminist. I know you a feminist, calling the brother a feminist, right? Because from what I've gathered, and I could be wrong, that if you listen to women for anything, then you are being ruled and owned by that woman. Well, men who are not married say stuff like that. When you are married as a man, a head, a leader, you have to take into consideration what your wife is saying. And if you have a wise wife, then she's not going to steer you wrong. Yah's going to bless you through that woman. I even put a post up recently on Patreon about why it's important for men to have a Deborah in their lives. Right? I put that's on the Patreon. You can check it out. So for him to say something like that, I'm like, so what are you saying? You're trying to master women? So you're trying to lord yourself over women, teach other men how to get all these women, but that one man can't take care of all those women. And I'm not just talking about financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? You know what I'm saying? Mentally, right? How can you provide for multiple women who you're not tethered to permanently? These are people who choose not to have a relationship with a woman that will acquire you to be accountable, acquire you to be humble, require you to be understanding, to be patient. See, these are the things that those of us who are astute in our community, the men in our community, understands is valuable. But when you have somebody that wants to teach you how to master money, he's just pushing you to get a whole bunch of money. But then you're going to get a whole lot of problems that come along with that money. And teach you how to master women, to get a whole bunch of women. He didn't say master a woman, master women. So this is part of his hustle. And again, this is what he's putting out there. I'm not just saying this about him. This is what we can see evidently. He's using money to get women. And then when he gets these women, he cannot maintain a relationship with these women because the goal is to get them, use them for what you can, and move on. Well, we have a moral system and a code of ethics in our community not to make whores out of the daughters of Zion. So that's something that can't even fly in our community and should not fly in our community. And if it is, we call out whoever's doing it. So if he's telling you to sign up for a course so you can master money and women, listen, I don't know the details or the content of that course, but I'm gonna get the course just so I can see what it is, so I can use it in reference if I have to follow this up, right? But this is what we can see where this is coming, who this is coming from, right? And what you'll see is a lot of white women. Now, again, I'm not making this up. We're just going by what we're seeing. I'm not saying nothing's wrong with him having white women. I'm just saying we just see a lot of white women. I don't see a lot of busty sisters that got nice figures, natural hair, little to no makeup on, dressing modestly. Like he's going after these Paris Hilton type women. That's what we see. So again, in our community, Malcolm X says something. And mind you, he hates Malcolm X. I'm just going to put it out for the record. He did a whole session disrespecting Malcolm X and his legacy. But Malcolm X says, and he has said, that one thing we can know about brothers in our community is they look to have the slave master's wife as their highest crown of achievement. Now, again, I'm not saying anything to deride his character. I'm just saying it's based on empirical observation. We see you have a lot of white women. That's all I'm saying. Does that make you a bad person? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying if you love a lot of white women like that, then we will be kind of cautious and you making decisions on our behalf when it comes to our sisters. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Okay, let's keep going. And then you dress like this. Not saying your dress is bad. Maybe that's the drip that you like. That's fine. But I'm saying you dress like this, a bunch of European designer clothes, a European designer bag, but a European descendant woman in front of you that you're hugging on. I'm just saying, bro. This is the image that is going out there. I'm not saying anything bad about your character. I don't know you, but I'm saying this is what we are seeing. You're going to see him with white women again. Look at that. Another white woman. See that? The brother with him, another white woman. And I'm not saying white women are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you're talking about broke black men, but here you are with white women. More white women. Where the sisters at, bro? Bro, where's your wife? Do you have a wife? Where's your wife at, bro? Where's your kids at, bro? You want to tell me how to master money and women? Let me see your functional household first, bro. Where your family at, bro? And I saw one random sister sit at that table. Probably some other brother's girlfriend, but needless to say. Oh, no, he said he had a lot of colorful words to say about Umar Johnson as well. Telling Umar Johnson to go live in Africa. It was funny, though. It was funny. Okay, let's play it.
You to know that I'm holding in an awful lot of disdain, disgust, and anger. Last night's display was really all you need to understand about the Hebrew Israelites, about all of these Black religious peoples. They are dishonest, they are degenerates, they are thieves.
We are dishonest, degenerate thieves. So all y'all in my chat, y'all are dishonest, degenerate thieves, according to him. Okay, so just keep watching.
They are trying to escape actually working. I realize
that they're trying to escape actually working. Bro, I work multiple IT contracts. I'm a contractor in the IT industry. I'm a solutions engineer. I'm a problem management analyst. I'm an architectural designer. And I work on payment systems, point of sales, and PMSs, which is property management systems. So I have a life in regards to revenue outside of this ministry. So for you to say something like that and encompassing me and all the other hardworking brothers that's in this chat, hardworking sisters in this chat, is just disrespectful. Why would you say something like that? Oh, I get it. Because all you do is commit logical fallacies. Hasty generalization.
That's what was happening. 20 people.
Again, he's only referring to the sample size he's encountered, but he's now taking that sample size and making absolute statements about everybody else.
Waiting to join the live stream. Why? Because they wanted to speak on the topic, or because they wanted to have some attention and some clout for themselves so that they could become a YouTuber instead of a working man and get an easy dollar.
So you can't be a YouTuber and a working man? What if you are a YouTuber and a working man and you earn your pay? I work for a living, and this is why I will continue to work for a living while I maintain this ministry. So if I have hands and feet and they're functional, I can get up and walk and move around, then I should have some form of work. There's no excuse why I'm an able-bodied adult and I'm out here working and earning. The only people that I see get passes to that is if an Israelite has an Isha and he's taking care of everything and allowing her to either work a home-based business or to do other things that bring in additional revenue to the house without having her to physically go and deal with the stresses of a job. Or if so, maybe part-time job or whatever. But then I'll excuse that segment of our society, right? So what I'm saying is this, right? For him to say stuff like that and not really talk to the real individuals in the community that really represent the community well, it's just unfortunate that this is his perspective, right? Because a lot of things that he says and a lot of his content, I like. I don't dislike everything he says, but some stuff that he says, I do like. But then when he goes off in a rabbit hole or tries to squeeze himself in a rabbit hole about stuff like this, then he got to get checked on it. That's all. You know, no disrespect. Just got to get checked on it.
I have an extraordinary amount of anger and hatred for you.
He has an extraordinary amount of anger and hatred. Why do people get angry and hate our community so much when you can simply just ignore the community? Why do they live rent-free in your head? Why should this get anybody? If I didn't like Muslims, why would I even think about them? Why would I entertain them? For somebody that has this amount of angst against a community, you're still engaging with them. That makes no sense. I don't understand. Why are you doing that? But you have an obsession with it. For whatever reason, I don't know what that is. Maybe you need therapy. I don't know. But for you to get that angry over it, me watching the things you say does not make me angry. And after this, I'm going to go live my life without thinking about you. It's that simple. It's like, why does it bother you so much? Like, I'm a certified counselor with the state. If you need counseling, brother, I'm more than happy to counsel you on this anger and hatred that you have towards this community. I have no problem doing it. One of my certifications, one of many certifications that I carry. So if you need counseling, brother, I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not good to have that feeling on your spirit, just the hate. It's interesting.
These people.
Then he says these people, like what white people say about black people, they call them these people. So what you'll see is that you have brothers and sisters in our community that achieve a certain level of success, and then they compare themselves to their white counterparts and turn their nose up towards their people who have not reached their level of success. So then we become these people. When it was these people that were paying and investing in the things that you did to get to that level. Again, polite syndrome, right? These people that you talk down on, now that you're living in Beverly Hills, you live in these affluent neighborhoods, you got the white woman, you're doing all these things. Now we become these people because we have not achieved your level of success the way you obtained that success. That's interesting. We become these people. So your reflection, and you'll see he'll say it. These are Freudian slips all throughout his show. It's not just towards the Hebrew Israelites. He says black men, broke black men. Haven't you seen them in Detroit? Haven't you seen them in Atlanta? Broke black men. He hates those of us who are impoverished. You know how many black men in this country is impoverished statistically? That means you hate the majority of your people. To say something like that is disgusting. Because we know what team you playing for, bruh. You're not playing for us. We know what team you're playing for. And we know that your audience is typically those people, not us. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine, brother. But guess what? I'm here with these people. You understand? In the trenches with these people. I wouldn't have it any other way. You're just not like us. So we're going to do hashtag not like us. Let's put that on. So anytime y'all go onto Marquett Davon's YouTube channel, the Saint Center, and you leave comments in the chat or comments after the video is posted, do hashtag you not like us, or hashtag not like us. All right. Don't tell him where it comes from. Just put it on there. All right. So he can respond to it, because he's going to realize at some point they're talking about me. All right. Just drop that little hashtag over his side. You'll go to his videos. Just drop that hashtag. Put that in each one of his videos. When he's live, put that in his chat. Just put you not like us. That's all. If I have critique about our people, I always couple it with a solution. Of course, I have a critique of our community in general, but I always couple it with a solution. I always give words of encouragement and edification for those people I'm criticizing to be removed from that state to a better state, to get from that domain of thinking to another domain of thinking, do bifurcation, which is a mathematical equation. So I've tried to move them from that one state of mind, that one domain, to a better domain by offering a bridge. So my critique doesn't just lie there. It goes to here. And I'm going to give him one as well before this show is over, because I ain't got much time. We're going to get through the rest of it. But this is what we're dealing with. Let's keep going.
I do have a presentation that I'm going to take you guys through, because I will not platform or debate any more of these imbeciles. I would like to.
All right. Conveniently, when word is getting around to those up in the community who would definitely give him a run for his money, all of a sudden he's not going to debate or platform any more of these imbeciles. Again, more colorful language. And typically, when you hear this type of language, it means the person has already been defeated. The fact that you get angry and you're disgusted, etc., goes to show that whoever that opponent was, they won. They got under your skin. So you lost.
To say, and I mean this, 100% of the Black Hebrew Israelites, or anyone that says I'm an Israelite, or
heard he said 100%. So there's no exclusions. So I can respond because you said 100%. You're putting me in that category. So that's why I'm responding. That's all.
I'm a Hebrew. 100% of them are idiots. And let me tell you something that
100% of Israelites are idiots. Wow, that's disrespectful right there. But let's keep going.
Funny about them, among many things. One thing that's funny about them is that they say Black people are cursed. Does that not sound familiar? Is that not what the enslaver said? Is that not how slavery itself was justified? Then further, you did.
So well, he's talking about right now, slavery itself was not justified based on Deuteronomy chapter 28. First of all, there was no slave, I would say, protagonist who was a preacher, clergyman, etc., said that Black people were cursed based on Deuteronomy chapter 28. They say Black people are cursed based on what Noah said to Ham about his son Canaan. That's called the Hamitic hypothesis. That has nothing to do with Devarim chapter 28. So the angle in which Israelites come from, and the angle in which the slave masters, let's say their preacher, their pastor, or those in the ecclesiastical staff on the realm of ecclesiastical, right? In the realm of Ecclesiastes, they did not use the same doctrine that Israelites use when they say that we are cursed. And that's another thing I say about Israelites. Stop saying that we're cursed. Okay? We're not cursed. We're facing the consequences of our ancestors' actions and our failure to respond to those actions. Therefore, Yah has to visit the third and fourth generation of iniquity. So we are not cursed. If we were cursed, then that means if we turn from that, those consequences, and we repent to join in the blessings based on obedience, we wouldn't be able to retain any of the blessing because we are cursed. So stop saying that. If you're saying that, go on his channel saying that, that's why he's saying this nonsense. Okay? But the doctrines are not the same. But this is not stuff that he has thoroughly studied. This is stuff that we've taught in lectures and PowerPoints, and professionally I've taught this. So this is the stuff he's not aware of. So I'm going to forgive his ignorance, but you'll see where the root of these things are. Again, in IT, I perform root cause analysis. I'm an analyst, right? This is what I do. So now I'm looking at the root cause, and I say his root cause is ignorance. He does not know. Okay, let's keep going.
Dig into their ideas, which are not their own, their Bible, even though they call the white man they call him Edom, and they call him.
All Israelites do not call the white man Edom or an Edomite or Esau,
The descendant of so and say he's evil. You read his book, the Bible. You read it in English, his language. Yet
you read the Bible and you read it in his language. So we read the Bible in Edom's language. Well, Edom did not speak English. Edom is actually a Semitic language. So English was adopted by Edomites. So anybody that believes that Esau is the white man and Esau is the progenitor of the Edomites, they know that Edom did not speak English. He spoke a Semitic language that was akin or sister to Hebrew, if not Hebrew itself, right? So what we've seen in the realm of archaeology and dead languages like Moabite, Ammonite, and Edomite, they're all mutually intelligible languages to Hebrew. Okay, just like an example of Moabite is the Moabite stone or the Misha Stele, right? That is starkly similar to the biblical Hebrew, we call classical Hebrew language, but there are some differences that make it its own distinct language. But this is the truth. Edom would have spoken a Semitic language, and he would have adopted English through his conquering of European nations or Yaphetic nations. So if he was to read the language in Edomite, that doesn't exist for us to read the language in Edomite. So when you say English, now we're dealing with the Anglo-Saxons, who was an entity before they even encountered Edom or any Edomites. It's a whole nother conversation. But let's keep going.
Who want to claim that he is such a bad person. You follow in his footsteps. You make up idiotic ideas that make you feel better about who you are, which is nobody.
So he's telling black men, broke black men, you are nobody. That's the same way that society views black men, especially if you broke, you have no money, you're a nobody. This person does not represent us. That's not how you speak life. That's not how you edify. That's not how you equip and empower broke black men. If that is a low state that we're in, your job is to speak the higher state into us until we realize and actualize that. So there's a reason why we're in this state. You think that these broke black men just woke up one day and said, I want to be a broke black man? No. There are circumstances that caused them to be that way. And some of them probably did it to themselves and don't know any better. So what advice do you have for those broke black men? What advice you have for them? To make them your enemies? That seems like what you're doing. To continue to create a disparity between you and them? Or are you going to create a bridge to show them how to do better? That type of talk is very dangerous. But let's keep going.
Instead of trying to become someone relevant as a man.
Become someone relevant as a man. What is relevancy to you as a man? Please define that.
You retreat because you don't believe in yourself. So you retreat and you settle for calling yourself a Hebrew Israelite.
So you retreat and settle for calling yourself a Hebrew Israelite. That's fascinating. And in the industry that I work in, I'm well known by my peers. I'm well known for my body of work. I'm well known for the people that I've helped along the way. I'm well known for programs I've did years back where I was getting troubled black youth into IT and show them how they can make money in IT as opposed to hustling in the street. This program still exists. I'm still partnering up with the brother that I met in IT about 15 years ago, who created the program back in 2010. So these are ways that we make a difference in our community because IT is the future. if you're not aware of it. And it's unfortunate that AI is going to put a lot of jobs out of commission soon. So one of the good ways to create a redundancy so that brothers and sisters can be consistent and maintain a livelihood post AI is to teach them these trades, right? And that's what we've done. And while I was working the program for about 4 or 5 years, I had over 50, 60 successful brothers graduate that program because I mentored them personally. That's stuff that I've done where I can say, this is the value that I have based on my contributions to society and towards these broke black men that you like to call them. They retreat away. And again, this is true for some people in this community, right? This is true. I've encountered brothers where this is true. So I'm not saying he's speaking in utter falsehood. I'm saying because he's saying this is the 100%. See, when you say that, there's no room for flexibility, no room for error, right? You are putting out absolutes. When I see that there's some brothers that do that, they don't represent the majority of us in this community. Let's keep going.
Saying you're the descendant of people who matter. You're not somebody who matters. You're the descendant of someone who matters. It's accustomed to that trope of the privileged white kid when he gets pulled over. He says, do you know who my father is? Do you know who my father is? Meaning I am nobody, but there is one greater than me who came before me. And based,
what ancestors are you greater than? The type of struggles your ancestors went through, my brother, you wouldn't survive that today. You're speaking very fragile language. So our ancestors labored harder than us. They never lived to see 2025. And if it wasn't for the sacrifices that they made and the characteristics that they possess, we wouldn't be here today. So yes, it's okay to do ancestor veneration and respect your ancestors for what they went through. My grandmother went through a lot in her life, but all of that produced good character in the end. And something that not only did I memorialize her when I did her eulogy so that it's public to help other people, but so I know I can measure my standard against my ancestor, and money was not a factor. So I will never speak down on my ancestors. And you're right, my ancestors will always be greater than me. I have no problem saying that, but it doesn't mean that I'm not an individual myself. So maybe these other individuals that you're talking about, they're nobody anywhere in society, but that does not speak for all of us, brother. I'm just trying to let you know.
On that person, I'm somebody. Well, here I tell you what. That's almost reasonable because at least his father is alive, and at least you know his father is connected to him through real lineage and DNA. These idiots are talking about a fictional book claiming to be a people from thousands of years ago.
A fictional book. When people make this type of argument, it's another fallacy. When people make these type of arguments, the moment I find one thing factual in the book, it is no longer a fictional book. Because according to him, and a lot of other antagonists like him, the Bible is a fairy tale. First of all, the Bible is not even categorized as a fairy tale. If somebody said the Bible is a fairy tale, they miscategorized the genre that the Bible was written in. It's not that type of literature. So you need to go back and research that. Fairy tales came from out of Europe. The Bible didn't come from Europe. Okay. The translation came from Europe, but the Bible itself, that today we can read now, master. We can read the Hebrew now, master. We can read the Aramaic now, master. We can read the Greek now, master. We can read these languages today. We don't need an English translation to read the text and discern it for ourselves. So for this brother to say this type of stuff
with no damn proof, I tell you another live, and at least
saying that it's fictional, the moment we can find things factual in it, then he's not telling the truth. The Israelites were a real people. This is not denied in history. This is not denied in archaeology. This is not denied in the area of ancient Near Eastern literature. This is a well-attested fact. They left physical items behind to connotate their existence. And the Bible is an accumulation of their culture. Cultures intertwined. The politics, economy, social, religion, as scholars say, right? These are all intertwined into culture, language, oral traditions, etc. The Bible represents some of that. The rest of it can be found, what's found in the dirt through excavations. So when you say fictional, you got to define what you mean by fiction.
You know, his father is connected to him through real lineage and DNA. These idiots are talking about a fictional book claiming to be a people from thousands of years ago with no damn proof. I tell you another thing. Whether it's the white Jews that are today in Israel or the idiotic folks who call themselves the black Jews in the United States and around the world. If you are truly the chosen people, where's the proof? You live in poverty, filth, and despair.
So we live in poverty, filth, and despair. Why are you talking about your people like that, bro? What's going on with it? So we have a J Mar that says, go take a look. The saint in the center, he is the truth. PTTS, I'm out. So you coming here to say that and then you leave? Why? I would like to call you on and ask you a question. What do you mean he's the truth? Because he teaches Marquettism. That's why he's the truth. He has 3 basic principles that he hinges Marquettism on. Nobody has an issue with that, but how does that make him the truth? You understand what I'm saying? And you're right. Well, because he disrespected Malcolm. So I was in his chat. And when he was talking to that brother about Malcolm X, and I left comments, he says, well, tell me 3 people that Malcolm X inspired that are great people today. And I gave him several of them. One of them was John Henrik Clark. Did you know that? John Henrik Clark was part of the OAU with Malcolm X. But you'd have to do research to understand that. And there were several others. I gave 4 other names. Angela Davis, Fred Hampton, and several others. They were all inspired by Malcolm X. And they also said this and attested to this. So Malcolm X, every year, there's a birthday that's celebrated about Malcolm X that inspires great men. Still inspiring them. The work that I do at the UN is because of Malcolm X. Okay, let me fall back. Did a whole lecture on this last year if anybody's interested in what I'm talking about. It's called Descent for Greatness, March on the UN. So when they disrespect our ancestors like that, nobody's here to say that our ancestors were perfect. Nobody's saying that. Malcolm X also had flaws, just like every other man has flaws. But I'm looking at the work he produced and see if any of that work is relevant to our liberation today, and it is. Malcolm X is one of the reasons why the International Decade for the People of African Descent exists. And they've written this out in the provisions that they made for this 10-year tenure for us to get international attention for the atrocities that we faced behind enemy lines. But he's not aware of that, is he? Is he aware of that? Do you know the programs that exist when Malcolm X Day occurs every year? There's hundreds of programs based on the work that he did and his legacy. That brothers and sisters are doing great things in the community. How do we know? Because we're there almost every year with the people, seeing what they're doing. Tons of great men and great women have been produced because of Malcolm X. To say that he didn't produce any great men and it was only Elijah Muhammad, I think that is another fallacy. And it's unwarranted. But it gives you good content, right?
You don't get along with your women. You have no leadership over them. And I observed.
You don't get along with your women. This is a male chauvinist we're dealing with. You don't get along with your women and you have no leadership over them. I don't, you got to define what you mean by that. I don't know what he's talking about, but he has to define what he means by that. See, I can talk about this and do commentary and show the content and be unbothered by it. If you want to go to a channel and check out his content, by all means. It's not going to affect anything that's going over here. For him to say something like that is ridiculous. Wait, brother. We got to save some. I already gave him 5 people. I didn't want to give him the other 50, 60, 70 other people that Malcolm X inspired. But yes, brother, yes, let's keep that as an ace up the sleeve. One of the many aces up the sleeve. All right, let's keep going.
Your behavior today, and it is wicked. We're gonna get
Remember, he's not just talking about the sample size that he's encountered. He said 100%. That's all of y'all.
Into it. When I look at the Hebrew Israelite, they're fat, dusty, dirty, and ugly.
Damn. Fat, dusty, dirty, and ugly. Mind you, he's talking about broke black men. So he's looking at a black man and saying, you ugly. So this is the brother that is looking at black men and calling them ugly. If that's not self-hate, I don't know what that is. They're dirty. What did he say? Hold on. Let's go back to what he said. Let me see what he said. And you know what's crazy? I've been to plenty of feast days, and that's not what I see. But okay. I guess because we're not pulling up in Lamborghinis, we're not pulling up in Bentleys, we're not wearing European designer clothing, we don't meet his standards. Okay. Again, polite syndrome.
We're going to get into it. When I look at the Hebrew Israelites, they're fat, dusty, dirty, and ugly. You hear that? Last time I checked, I'm not fat. Dirty, I don't think I'm dirty either. Dusty, definitely not. And ugly, maybe. I mean, if he has a particular I guess type of men that he likes, then maybe he can call another man ugly. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue what he's talking about. But I see royalty when I see my people. Every time we have feast days, we come together. We had F3 French press this past weekend. I see nothing but royalty there. I don't know what this ninja talking about. Oh, because he's only dealing with a small sample size. That's why. Ugly. Where's the God in that? Where's God in that? Damn, smart glasses keep making noise. I want to put on my glasses so I can see my notes here. Yes. We're going off today. You see, last night, you all might remember, I said, if you'd like to come on and speak, send your $20. We use that to make sure that not too many people come on.
So he's charging $20 for you to go on his show. That's his business, right?
Use that to make sure that you don't have to listen. Some of these guys have something important to say. There's God's laws. These are the men who supposedly keep the commandments. Surely they would be honest. I tell you, of the men who came on last night, about 80% of them didn't send in their fee. Why?
Oh, so you're upset because those brothers didn't pay the fee, but you still brought them on. Why are you bringing them on just to be mad that they didn't pay the fee? Well, how come you make them pay the fee before they come on? You can create a paywall before somebody joins your live. You can give them a link that'll redirect them to pay before they come on. And you can verify that by asking them, what is your email address? It's very simple. So you're mad because you didn't get 80% of that bread that could have went into your pocket. I understand that. That makes sense.
Why is that? Because they are liars. They don't have integrity and honesty.
Then you fostered that. You enabled that because you didn't put the proper paywall in place.
Because they're free.
Hey, that's why we have a Patreon, because people who are really serious about the information we share on here, they're willing to invest in the Patreon. And when you get to the Patreon, that's an immediate ROI. You get tons of resources in that repository. The paywall is there to keep the trolls out. Paywall is there for people who are serious, because if we're willing to pay for every other service that we get, whether it's education, entertainment, etc., in society, then surely we're willing to invest in the knowledge that we get from our own brothers and sisters who are laboring hard in this truth to be the spook by the door and bring this knowledge back to the people. We're willing to invest in something like that so we can get that information, especially when said individuals have credentials. What is he talking about? So he's enabling this behavior, not nobody else, him.
Loaders. They represent what the average black man is today in the United States.
How you let somebody have something for free repeatedly and then call them the freeloader? No, you enabled that. You gave it to them. You allowed them to come on there without paying the fee. That's your fault. How are they at fault for that?
And all of his bad characteristics. That's what they do. That's what they do. Let me get some of these mentally ill people out of the chat.
Because now he has people that's not even Israelites that are saying stuff about what he's saying. Not even Israelites.
Yes. I always tell you guys, pay what you owe. It's an important concept for you to keep in mind. Why? That's what a man does. They call you a provider. Pay what you owe. It is the nature of the man who does not pay what he owes. He is a thief. He is a dishonest person. He is an evasive person. He is a liar.
I don't have any issue with that because there's truth in what he's saying, right? I have no issue with that. But if you enable it, then who's at fault?
Pay what you owe is an important thing. But they never teach you anything practical. In fact, they actually put you down.
They never teach you anything practical. In fact, they put you down. Well, that can be said about this channel. We actualize the cultural paradigm that we stand on. We actualize it in reality. And we're taught how to employ these things in reality here. Can't speak for everybody else in this community, but I can speak for it and attest for it here. He says they actually put you down.
Here's the fascinating part. Think about it this way. They tell you that you're of a cursed people. Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing? They tell you that you're of a cursed people? No, that's a bad thing. Then what's more is they tell you that you're going to improve your situation on earth. Just wait for Jesus to come back. Wait for the Messiah to come back.
Do we teach that over here? That's not even what the Bible teaches. Read Devon in Deuteronomy chapter 30. They don't teach that.
Do they teach you anything about improving your situation? No, they can't.
Yes, we do. You just got to talk to the right ones.
Because they become preachers because they failed at life.
They become preachers because they failed at life.
None of them were successful before becoming a Hebrew Israelite. Every last one of them. You look at them, the background, poverty.
None of them was successful before becoming a Hebrew Israelite. None of them mattered prior. I'm willing to have a conversation with him about my past. And I got receipts for all of it. So we could talk about that. It's not a big deal. We could do it. I'll just be a hustler. So I don't know what he's talking about. But it's fine. Just let him continue.
They're just there trying to collect your money.
And you're not? That's crazy, yo.
They don't teach you how to make money. They're there to collect your money. These boys are welfare mentality boys. This is what's wrong with the black male.
So now he shifted from our community to the black male. He hates black men.
And I don't want to hear any of you dummies in the live chat talking about debate so-and-so. There's no debate. They're all idiots.
There's no debate. They're all idiots. Even though some of them have degrees in this field and degrees in other fields. Mind you, you're not a subject matter expert in this field. This is not your discipline. But you are leveraging the degrees that you do have for people to think that you're an authority in this area, and you're not. You have a major in your discipline. This is not your area of expertise, but you're speaking on it. Okay.
They're all idiots. I don't think any of them are worth anything. I lower myself in even talking to them. They're all beneath me.
Then why have you spent tons of your sessions talking to Israelites? What does that say about you?
Now let's get to this word. God's word. Where do you get God's word from? The Bible. Okay, great. So you get God's word from the Bible. Was the Bible?
Hey, School of Skills, when you're ready to come on the stage and have a conversation, then we can switch to that. So I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna drop the link for him and make sure he get the link. And this is for School of Skills. So if you want us to switch to that, here you go, School of Skills. Click the link, come on the stage, and we can switch to that, okay? If not, Then we're going to continue.
Written in English? No. Okay, great. So
now watch this retarded logic here, right? And mind you, he said 100% of us, right?
What language was the Bible, God's word from? The Bible, God's word. Something even talking to them. They're all beneath me. Now let's get to this word. God's word. Where do you get God's word from? The Bible. Okay, great. So you get God's word from the Bible. Was the Bible written in English? No. Okay, great. So what language was the Bible originally written in? You don't know, but let's take a couple guesses. Hebrew, Aramaic, who knows? Something like that, right? Somewhere, some older language. The first Bible that was mass produced, the Gutenberg Bible. What language was that written in? Was it in German? I don't know. Who knows? You should find out, though.
The Gutenberg printing press? Is that what you're referring to when you say mass production? You got to define mass production. Mass production by way of the printing press. There was mass production of what we call the Bible before there even existed a printing press. We have thousands and thousands, over 10,000 plus manuscripts that we can find that's been preserved, and more have been found in regards to fragments. So when you say mass production, at what point in time and by what means or medium are we referring to when we say this? Okay.
But if you really love your religion, and if you love God, why is it that you haven't taken out the time to learn that language and read God's word as it was written?
We do that over here. So I don't know who you're talking about, but we do that over here. That's what we do over here. Matter of fact, I got a Clubhouse session that I'm going to post. It's going to be on Patreon if those of you are interested in it. And me and this brother named Yoshiyahu, who's on Clubhouse, good brother. Me and him had tons of conversations before. We even had debates amongst each other. And this one I'm going to post is like a debate between me and him, informal debate, where we talk about the book of Job, chapter 2, when Job's wife says, are you going to retain your integrity, curse God and die? Right. So we both understand the word curse there is barek, and barek does not mean to curse. Halal means to curse, right? Or curse, right? But the word there is barek. So she's telling Job to bless God. And it says tamut, bless God and you die, right? So when we look at that, the issue is the word barek that's there is a PL stem verb. And what is the sense that's being conveyed there? Is she telling Job to bless God in sincerity and just die and get over with? Or is she mocking Job? Not because what she's saying is a statement of fiction or is a falsehood, but because she's mocking him on his character when she knows he's already going to do that. So she's telling him to intensify or overdo the action of blessing God, as we see that he did so in Job chapter 1 after his kids died, his house was destroyed, his livestock was taken, right? And she's telling him in a way where she's telling him to overdo it. Just go ahead and bless him. The tone is elevated and die. So we had a point of contention in regards to how that PL stem affects the tone and the understanding that she's conveying to Job, and based on that, how she responds to that. So if you want to see people get into the Hebrew, we also went into Aramaic because I asked him to give me a source for it. He gives me Ramban. I'm like, oh, I thought he was going to provide me some modern academic scholarship on it from a linguist who's a Jew or otherwise. And that's not what he did. So we had to go into Ramban's work, which is in Aramaic. And I told him, I said, yeah, I can make my way through Aramaic. I never professed to be an expert or advanced in any of these languages, right? But I have an intermediate, I would say, intermediate literacy level in reading, understanding, and analyzing the text to have these type of conversations. So when I was reading the English translation of Ramban, which he asked for, and I read the English translation that said the word curse, and he says, no, the word curse is not there. I said, hey, right, let me go through it in the Aramaic. He said, yeah, do it. I went through it in the Aramaic, and I was parsing it out in the Aramaic. And I said, you're right. It doesn't say curse, but the English translation and a translation is going to translate that verse in Job. Instead of blessed, is going to translate it as curse. So me and Yoshi another brother who's really well skilled in the language had a back and forth discussion on the particulars of the language, and I'm gonna put that out on Patreon so you can see it. So I'm not out here flaunting my literacy level in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, right? I only utilize it when it's necessary for analytical purposes when we do our studies here on this channel, right? But when it comes to reading the text, I've done readings of the text before. So on this channel, you can check it out yourself, right? I study this language all the time, right? So for him to think that no Israelites do this, and I'm just one of many. There's brothers in here that are more devout to the language than I am, right? That I tip my hat off to, that I even go to, you know what I'm saying, for some insight in regards to the language, right? I'm not afraid to do that, right? My subject matter expertise is in the ancient Israelite Bible against its ancient Near Eastern background, right? Doing comparative cultural analysis between the Israelites and their culture and their language and their history, along with surrounding nations, right? So we can get a fuller gamut experience of what the Bible is actually conveying to the recipient, right? So you have to be literate in the language in order to do this type of research and do these type of studies. So there are those of us who do value the language, those of us that get into the nitty-gritty language, the nuance of the language, some brothers that are devout and only reading the language, right? I prefer the original language over the English translation. When I'm in Clubhouse spaces, we do this all the time, and I just go through the language, right? If necessary. If not necessary, I don't need to go through the language. But in order to have a conversation with him, I will definitely go into the language, head on into the language. He mentioned Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, right? I will definitely go into the language, into the details of the language, the depths of the language that I'm aware of, the nuances, and I will definitely do an expositional discussion with him with an exegetical and a midrashic experience in the language if I had a conversation with him. Because if this is what you're saying authenticates us based on the identity claim, then why don't you talk to those of us who actually do get into the language, not the ones who devalue the language, put down the language? So I agree with him. There's Israelites that say, oh, we don't have to learn the language. We got it in English. I said, no, brother, that's not enough. If you're identifying as this, the expectation is that you speak the original language because the text was not written in English. It was translated to English. So I agree. Language is very important. Even if you get up to an intermediate level like me, or even as a beginner, right? And you know some fundamentals of the language before you get into the functional aspects of it, learn that, because you'll see there's a greater depth to the text than what the English can convey, because things get lost in translation, right? So for him to say something like this and say 100% and speak in absolutism, right? This is where the problem is at.
So that you would have the best understanding.
And some of us do have that. That's what we teach over here.
Because one, they don't know God, and they surely don't love God. They love themselves.
We don't know God. We don't love God. We only love ourselves. Then he's going to say,
they're narcissists. They don't love themselves. That's the wrong word. They're self-obsessed.
They're self-obsessed. They're narcissistic. So we're narcissistic, okay?
They don't love themselves. They're self-obsessed. They're self-absorbed. And you might say, well, Marquett, you expect me to learn Hebrew? Yeah, I do. If that's what you say, your whole life is about your religion and you're the chosen people.
Well, we don't call it a religion. So for him to say that we say religion goes to show he's out of touch and he's tone deaf to the cultural cues and the language of our community, because we don't say the religion. So he's just unfamiliar with that, but it's okay. All right.
You're the Jew that doesn't speak Hebrew? Fascinating. Really fascinating.
And that's crazy that he said you're a Jew that doesn't speak Hebrew. Well, there was a lot of Jews historically that did not speak Hebrew. I'll just give him one example. Philo of Alexandria. He's an ethnic Jew, but he barely spoke any Hebrew. He spoke Koine Greek because of where he grew up at in Alexandria, when Greek was the colloquial tongue of the day. And there's tons of other figures who were Jews who did not speak Hebrew. Does that not make them, they're not a Jew because they don't speak Hebrew? That's retarded. If there's people who identify as Israelites and they don't speak Hebrew, that does not make them any less of being an Israelite. yes, they should go and invest in the language and learn the language. I wholly agree. They should, because you only get the best understanding of the text through learning the language. And I'll encourage the learning of the language. That's why we have courses on our Patreon, classes that we do, etc. So the language is very important, right? But if you don't speak it, does not nullify the claim of identity. Because if that's the case, then historically, we have to take that same criteria and apply it loosely historically, or just generally historically, when we find individuals that did not speak Hebrew. So it's just asinine.
Okay. Let me address some of the questions and comments before we get into this, man. And I want y'all to pay attention. I'm about to destroy their whole religion. They cannot hold up against any of these questions.
That is who we dealing with. Okay. All right. So we're gonna move off of that. And I'll work on a PowerPoint, because he made a PowerPoint with different slides, different points that he says this is going to destroy their whole religion. And he says not just the Israelites. So he made these slides not just for Israelites, but for anybody that he deems to be in a religion, right? I'll do a refutation of that, and I'll share those slides, and y'all can look at it at any cost. And then hey, School of Skills. What is all of this, bro? If you don't like what we're discussing here, brother, why are you here? Why are you here if you don't like what we are discussing? It's a Friday evening. You have nothing better to do but come here and hope that the person moderating or hosting the show is going to cater to your request. Is that what you want to do? Well, I provided a link for you to come on and have that discussion, and you chose simply not to. So I'm not sure what's going on. Not sure. But you've been given an opportunity to chat. So Maury, I'll start one. I'll start one of those if you're interested. I'll start one of those. And if you're a member of Patreon, not a paid member, if you're just a member, period, we'll start a chat, and you can ask your questions in there until y'all can get that level of literacy. But again, the course is on there if anybody's interested in learning the language. We got Hebrew, we got Aramaic, we got Greek, we got Arabic, we got Ugaritic. What else do we have on there? We have Syriac. What else do we have on there? I think that's it. Oh, we got Latin. So we have all those on there if anybody's interested in learning those languages. So those resources are available in the community. So, okay. Why didn't you show up to debate the saint during that live? I was on that live. I was on several lives. He has a queue. I cannot afford to wait on somebody's queue for over an hour when I have other things in my life. I put a formal request to him via email and on his YouTube channel so that we can have a one-on-one, and he ignored it. So when he does a open panel discussion like that, and I've made 2 attempts to chat with him, and all I see is an entertain brothers who's not really bringing much information on it, and time has passed. My brother, Mr. 6'5", that's my brother. He also recommended me to Marquett. You don't hear Marquett mentioning me, except for in passing when that brother mentioned me and he disrespected me. He has no interest in having a dialogue with me. So what you want me to do? You want me to watch his entire live from ending? Sometimes he's on there for hours, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. You want me to waste that much of my time to sit there to talk to this man who I cared nothing about? Why would I do something like that? I got a life. I got a million other things I could be doing. I'm just going to sit there and wait. So hopefully Marquette could get me on the show. For what? Who is he? Brother, you got to do better than that. Stop that. Stop that, brother. Stop that. Stop that. I don't need airtime from him. I don't need to chase clout from him. All you got to do is type my name in to YouTube, and you'll see thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000 views on content that I've produced or I've been on. I don't need to chase him for clout. My channel's contributed over 8 million views to YouTube. Over 8 million. Why would I need to chase clout? I don't understand, brother. So these brothers putting PTTS, these are all fans of Marquett Davon. They're all his fans. So just so you know, anytime you see PTTS, these are people who are fans of his. That's why he's saying this, because he's a fan of Marquett. Because otherwise, he wouldn't be over here if Marquette's name was not in the title. He wouldn't be over here. But as you can see, we don't block them. I allow him the space to speak, but he thinks that I have the time to invest in talking to a Marquett Davon. How's that bringing me money? How's that bringing me fame and fortune? By getting on there and having a debate with him. He says he does not want to debate them no more. That's what he said. He's not going to give a platform to them. That's what he said. So what you want me to do, bruh? How about you go talk to him and you tell him to send me a personal invite to his channel and I'll have a conversation with him. How about you go and do that? Ain't nobody chasing that brother to get on his platform. For what? I made 2 attempts. A third attempt would make me look stupid if it didn't work. This is crazy. Let him know that we go live every Friday. He's welcome to come on his platform, espouse his beliefs and his perspectives and his rebuttal, and he's allowed to come on here and do that. I will give him a safe space to do that. I will allow him to speak. All he'll do is go back and watch the videos we've done with guests and allow him the opportunity to speak. That brother has almost 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. Respect for him for hitting over 100,000 subscribers. Good for him. My measly 66K cannot compare to his almost 200,000 subscribers. But you're telling me to waste my time. YouTube was probably what, 15% of my time, maybe less. You tell me to waste my time outside of YouTube to invest on waiting on his platform to speak. Why would I do that? And then I got to pay him $20. Listen, if I could pay him $50 to skip the queue to speak, I'd do that. But he didn't give that as an option. So, and if I invest my money, then I need to have a conversation. Because you got to pay what you owe. So if somebody paid you, then you owe them. I don't know what kind of businessman. I've never done business with him. So why would I do that? So you, the person that said that, all my contact information is in the description below. You get in touch with Marquett. You tell him I'm willing to have a one-on-one. And then you come back and you correspond with me and my administrators, and we'll make an executive decision about that. How about that? In the interim, I'm going to do a PowerPoint to rebut his PowerPoint. And if I feel the need to respond to him again, I will do so on my platform. That's simple. If you was here earlier in the conversation, I told you that I already was on his live twice. That means you wasn't here at the beginning of this session. So I'll have some mercy on you because you wasn't here. So what I'm telling you is this: you putting PTTS in there, you're a Marquett fanboy. You're involved in Marquettism. That's your prerogative, brother. To come over here and say that somebody should wait on his live. You know how long his lives is. You know how many guests he just lets on and drops off. You know that. I was in his chats. Just go back and look up this channel. I was in those chats waiting. Clicked on the link, waiting. And that's what happened, brother. Shout out to Hebrew Polymath. Yes, so we discussed that on this channel before. Burials, deaths. So all you got to do is go on this channel on YouTube, on your PC, your desktop, and there's going to be a little magnifying glass when you go to this channel. Click on that, and you can search through all the content. Put death, put burial, and you'll see the various videos and live streams that we've done on that subject matter. And we have a repository of references on that on the Patreon as well, if you want to check it out. If you want me to do something more particular than that, I'll be more than happy to do that, brother. All right. All right. So we're going to transition away from that, right? Yo, it would be kind of interesting to see that, because the biggest recipients of welfare are white males. So is he going to call these white males fat, dusty, broke, and ugly? And most of these white males live in rural areas and suburbs in America. There's more Caucasians in this country than there are black people. And most of those Caucasians are at the poverty level. But he's not saying that about white people. You know, they have British Israelism that's still taught here in America. I don't see you calling them out. But that's another conversation. Another conversation. Okay. All right. I know a lot of y'all showed up for the drama. Now, before we close out, I'll take a couple of questions and then we out of here. It's already past the 2-hour mark. So yeah. Any questions, let me know. Let's see. Okay. Throwing Up Gaming says, hey, Divine, in Isaiah 53, is it the other nations who was asking who hath believed our report and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? And do you think this chapter is talking about Christ? Okay. So there's many perspectives on Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53, the servant in Isaiah 53 is referring to the righteous remnant, which is inclusive of righteous kings like Hezekiah and Josiah, righteous prophets like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Zechariah, Hosea, and even Yeshua bar Yosef, right? And others, right? They are the servant, the ones who keep the statutes, laws, commandments, and obey the word of Yah, despite what's going on in the nation. They're the righteous remnant. Now, when they say who have believed our report, the our is referring to the Most High and the righteous remnant. And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? The arm of the Lord is anybody that's carrying out the will and authority of the Father, right? So there are some interpretations that say when they said who have believed our report is referring to the Gentile nations. Some say it's referring to the nation of Israel, right? My perspective is that this is referring to the prophets, the righteous remnant, the kings who are righteous. All kings were righteous, righteous kings, right? So this is inclusive of Yeshua bar Yosef, but it's not exclusive to him, right? And then when we go through it point for point, actually, I got a video on here where I discuss this. So just type in Isaiah 53 and this channel, and you'll be able to check out that Clubhouse session that I had. So both positions were being espoused on there, and I came in and I provided my perspective. So if you're interested in that, my brother, Throwing Up Gaming, go back and check out my Isaiah 53 Clubhouse session. It's here on YouTube. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. So you're right. Let me go ahead and do that. All right. He says, you are not articulate or clever enough. This is bait language, man. You see this? His brother said, I'm not articulate or clever enough. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm not articulate. I'm not clever enough. Okay. All right. So say you who do not know me from a hole in the wall. Maybe you need to go back and watch my prior debates, go back and watch my lectures, read my articles that I've written academically. Why don't you go back and check that stuff out first? You know what I'm saying? I'm laid back right now. I don't have to bring on heavy articulation. I'm just laid back right now. All right. So go do your research, brother. That's all I'm going to say for you. I'm not even going to say nothing crazy to you. All right. So let's go into the Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10. All right. Said that's Marquett speaking. It probably is. He's probably using another alias. That's right. Yo. All right. So let's go to Zechariah chapter 12, verse 10. Let me bring it up real quick. That's hilarious, man. All right. Let's see. Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10. All right, let's go up. Let's go up before that. Let's go to now stay there. Chapter verse 10. All right. So let's go ahead and look at this, and I'm gonna go over what I went over previously, right? On that Clubhouse session that you was part of. Let me bring it up. Where is it at? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. So here it says, and I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and pleas for mercy, so that when they look on me, on whom they have pierced, they shall mourn for him as one mourns for an only child and weep bitterly over him. Right. So now I'm going to show you something interesting that I had to show Joey, who was a Christian zealot, who was a oneness believer. Okay. This is how we dealt with this, right? First of all, I told him that these pronouns were off and we need to see where the disconnection is, right? When you go into the language that Marquett says we don't know, you'll be able to see what the answer is, right? But there are some footnotes that help you to decipher this, right? And I used it. I think, what did I go to? Did I go to KJV? I think I went to the KJV. I think I went to the KJV. Was it the KJV? I don't know if it was the KJV that I went to. What version was it that had those notes? So I think it was this. I think it was NIV. I can't remember what translation he had when we went over this, but I'll stick with the ESV, right? So first it says an I. So we went over this. Who's the I here? And we said the I is Yod He Wafe, right? And I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and pleas for mercy, so that when they look on me, on him whom they have pierced, they shall mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and weep bitterly over him as one weeps over a firstborn, right? So when we go here and we take an analytical look, okay, an analytical look at the text, we see something that's off. Now you see here, ele, et, asher, right? Asher, dakaru. So this right here is what the issue is. It says, then they will look. This is the Nikithil conjunction, conjunctive perfect, third person common plural, right? A conjunctive vav, right? So first you see here, you see this demarcation mark that's separating the clauses. First clause here, right? Wasab hakti al bet Dawid, the house of Dawid. Bet Dawid, the house of Dawid. This is the first clause. Then we have the second clause. Al Yosef Yerushalim, right? In this case, Yerushalim, im. There's no yod hirik to denote an im sound. Yod hirik to denote im sound. Hirik would be prior to the yod to give the e sound, right? Proper feminine singular noun, right? This is the second clause. Here's the third clause. Ruachein wetacha nunim. This is it, right? Which is and supplication. So, and I will pour on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem. What? The ruach, the spirit of grace and supplication. You see that? Now, they have this word here for me, first person common and singular, right? A first person common singular would never be me. That does not denote, excuse me, it would denote a singular. But the issue with that is this direct object marker, because once it shifts from the spirit, the ruach, the spirit of grace, then it shifts to, then they will look, then this is an ekithel, which is the causative. So anytime something's in the causative, the nominative, the one that's saying I and I will pour out, is never the actual agent that produces the verbal action onto the accusative, right? And it says, and then they will be caused to look. They will be caused to look. It says, on me, whom they pierce. So now, there's various ways that this can be deciphered, right? And before we get to that, when it says for him, the him can refer to several things. It could be the spirit of grace, because this is the prior noun that is referenced. The spirit of grace here, right? This is the common singular construct noun, the ruach, and the masculine singular noun of grace, the spirit of grace. Now, the ha is not there for the definite article, the ruach chain, which is simply the spirit of grace. This could be who it is referencing. That's one thing that they're saying. And this word pierce here does not mean physical piercing in which you kill somebody, right? It can refer to how when Mary was pierced, so the people was pierced because of what Mary went through with the nativity of Jesus. And this word is used also with David said that he was pierced, but David literally was not pierced, right? Some say that word is not pierced there is referring to a lion, the word ara, etc. Ariam. There's different interpretations of that. But here, there's several things that this could be. If he's going to pour on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the spirit of grace and supplication, the spirit of grace and supplication is the noun that he is using to pour out on them something, right? They will look to me. The word should not be on me. It should be, they should look to me or towards me. What? The one whom they pierced. This is not referring to crucifixion, okay? In the sense where it's like, oh, look, Jesus was crucified and looked at Jesus' only son. That's not what they're saying. This can either refer to Yah saying doing the pouring out using the agent, which is the spirit, because he's not saying they'll look on me directly. That'll be the cow stem. The he felt is the causative, right? So what are they looking on when it comes to Yah? Well, not him. They're looking on something. Well, what is that something that he's saying he's going to use to pour out? Well, the spirit of grace and supplication. That's what the text says. So they will look to me whom they pierce. Who's the me that they pierce? Well, the fact if they turn on Yah, Yah's heart is pierced for them. We see that over maybe, I think, 12 or 13 times in scripture where the similar language is used. Then he says, on whom they will mourn for him. Well, who's the Allah? Who's the him that they're going to mourn for? It goes into the third person now after first going into the first person. And then it talks about the spirit of grace and supplication. Then it switches and it transitions. Then it says they will look upon who? Who are they looking upon or being caused to look upon? They're being caused to look upon. They put me there, whom they pierce. Okay. But then it says, yes, they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only one, but they add the word son there. They add the word son there, right? Ha-yachid, right? And grieve for him. Who's this him? The him that's there is going to be the one that he's using to pour this out on. And what I was telling the brother when we was looking at the English translation, there were footnotes there that showed him how the language changes with just a few words. And the brother, for whatever reason, right, he didn't want to accept that. And I said, okay. But when we look at that, that's exactly what the text is saying. It starts off with saying, and I will pour. That's Yah. What is he going to pour? The spirit of grace and supplication, right? Because that could be considered a him. And they will look to me or they will look to him. You don't have an it in Hebrew. So this is going to have to be, they will look to him. Who's him? The one that he's using to pour out what? The spirit of grace and supplication, whom they have pierced. Who have they pierced? Well, they pierced Yah because he's pouring this out. And they will look on the one that was pierced. How was he pierced? Not through crucifixion. Nothing in this entire context has anything to do with crucifixion. So the fact that we think this has something to do with crucifixion is wild work when that's not even the context of the chapter. And then it says, and they will mourn for him. Well, who is the him here? Because people will say, well, this is Jesus on the cross. They're mourning for Jesus, who's also the Most High. So the Most High is talking about himself personally, and he's also talking in the third person by way of Jesus. For the only one, which is to say, and grieve for him as one grieves for a firstborn. So when a firstborn is died, and this word is in his fill again, as one is caused to grieve for a firstborn, right? This is not talking about Jesus. It has to do with the people rejecting Yah, but what Yah's going to do is pour out the spirit of grace and supplication. But even after he pours it out, they're going to look upon Yah, who they pierce, but that spirit of grace and supplication is going to cause them to mourn for what? For whoever he sends. Because this is the causative language being used here. This is very important to understand. And yes, they will mourn for him. Well, who's the him? That's the question. The him cannot be Jesus, because when we read the rest of it, it has nothing to do with Jesus. So you got to identify these pronouns. First person pronoun, there's a second person pronoun, there's a third person pronoun. God the Father, if you identify him as God the Father, it's not saying he's coming in a body so that they can physically pierce him and mourn for him like they mourn for an only son. That's not what he's saying. Read the rest of the context. The rest of the context right before it says, and Yah will give salvation to the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem may not surpass that of Judah. On that day, Lord will protect the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the feebleness among them on that day shall be like David. Now we get more context. And the house of David shall be like God, like the angel of the Lord going before them. And on that day, I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. So wait, so who's the him? Who's he talking about? Oh, could it be the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem as a collective noun after the pouring out occurs? Because when you read the rest of it, on that day, the mourning in Jerusalem will be great as the mourning from Hadad Rimon in the plain of Megiddo. The land shall mourn, each family by itself, the family of the house of David and the wives of themselves, etc. Or it goes all the way down to the Shemites by itself and their wives by themselves, and all the families that are left, each by itself, and their wives themselves. If you read the context, it tells you who the him is. The him is referring to the causative. Some say it's the ruach that they're going to mourn after. But the context denotes that it can also refer to the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and it can typify this as an entity, a singular entity, which Jerusalem is called many things. Jerusalem is called a he, it's called a she. It's typified as an animal, a bird, and as other things. So this is what's talking about, because this is who's at stake. We find that here about right up here in verse 7, and then as we continue to go on verse 11, etc., it tells us who they mourn. And the land shall mourn each family. What families? The ones that's part of the house of David, which we see here, and the rest of the inhabitants of Jerusalem. That's what we're coming across. Okay, so hopefully that begins to answer your question or gives you some insight into this. I'm going to fall back a little bit. I was slightly distracted because my family's coming home. So unfortunately, I have to go. I definitely would like to do another live stream soon, maybe before next Friday, if y'all like. But in the interim, I appreciate your time. Thank you for entertaining my rant in regards to this individual. If more of his followers come over here, I want to mention to them, this all had to do with stuff that Marquett said out of his mouth. I don't know him personally. I'm not going to call him an idiot and all these other colorful names that he uses for Israelites. I don't know him. And if you would like to have a one-on-one conversation, I'm open to do so. But in the interim, this is where we at. And in the interim, until this conversation is had, then I'm going to do what I do on my side. He can do what I do on his side. He does not live rent-free in my head. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Hopefully you have a blessed and productive Shabbat that's coming up. Hopefully things that was said or anything that was said in here was fruitful for y'all. Take a seed from out of that fruit, plant it, and grow in abundance for yourself. I love y'all. Thank you for your support as always. Until we see you again and you see me again on the last live stream, I love you, family. Peace and shalom. Sorry for the distraction in the background. Shalom.